story of Native American resistance extends back more than 500 years. It's a struggle that has never ceased. In the 1960s, it underwent a resurgence highlighted by the occupations of Alcatraz Island and San Francisco Bay, and of Wounded Knee and the Pine Ridge Reservation, one of the many areas where, in 1890, the U.S. Army committed genocide. There were numerous other demonstrations and occupations demanding sovereignty and upholding treaty rights. In the wake of the uprising at Wounded Knee, FBI and Bureau of Indian Affairs supported goon squads attacked people who fought for human rights and sovereignty. Many local Native activists were killed or imprisoned, and some leaders, such as Leonard Peltier of AIM, the American Indian Movement, were framed and to this day remain in prison.
The early 1970s, the American Indian Movement began asserting treaty rights within the rubric of national liberation movements to restore active sovereignty to Native nations. So you have basically the FBI, that is a law enforcement agency as it's chartered within the United States, fulfilling a counterinsurgency function on American Indian reservations, particularly the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota, but others as well, during the mid-1970s.
I was based here in San Francisco and on the AIM Council for the San Francisco Bay Area. So we were getting reports from everywhere. You know, Pine Ridge was just one place we were dealing with after Wounded Knee. I think they cared more about the grassroots leaders, getting rid of them, than about the, the national spokespeople. But these local leaders, incarcerating them and, they were destroyed. They were destroyed by it. They created these, what we would later learn from Central Americans were death squads, to just kill leaders, to terrorize people, break into houses and start shooting people, and just a free reign of weapons being provided, and especially ammunition, really armor-piercing, hollowed out, these kinds of things that are military issue, being given to these guardians of the Oglala Nation. They call themselves the Goon Squad.
The emblematic case to come out of the FBI campaign, the counterinsurgency campaign against the American Indian Movement during the 70s, is of course that of Leonard Peltier. And that's an individual who was part of an armed security team on Pine Ridge that was willing to go toe-to-toe with the FBI and its surrogates, the death squad surrogates that were mustered out of the Bureau of Indian Affairs police there in order to break the back of the movement, make an example of it as to the cost and consequence of actually trying to stand on your rights as an American Indian.
We started our own programs too. The American Indian Movement, we started, but we patterned them after the Black Panthers organizations. We had free breakfasts, we built schools, we have our own clinics. We went into, of course, communications. A lot of the things that the Panthers did, we patterned our ideas off of.
The women from Pine Ridge begged the AIM people to send a sizable group of people who could be there to protect them in their, these very isolated little compounds of these full-blood Indians, elder people. They were getting harassed all the time by the goons. And these two FBI agents drove right in at high speed, freaked everyone out, and so, there was a firefight, and those two FBI agents ended up dead.
Peltier was convicted of killing two FBI agents in a firefight in June of '75 on Pine Ridge. The upshot, however, is that there's no one, including even his prosecutors at trial, that have been able to say, or willing to say, at any point in the last 25 years, as it stands right now, that they actually know that he did what he was convicted of doing. In most cases, they're not even willing to say they believe he did what he was convicted of doing.
Of course, a big movement built up, and Leonard has become not only a symbol, but a true spiritual leader, of the whole movement. And AIM, is weakened beyond really existing, but the American Indian movement, without the dots, without the acronym, has largely survived.
What you can say is that Leonard Peltier is not serving time, although his sentence is 2 consecutive life terms in prison. He's not in prison at this point for anything resulting from a valid conviction. He is in prison as a symbol of the arbitrary ability of the federal government to visit these kinds of consequences on American Indians first and foremost, because that's what he represents, Indian resistance, pursuit of Indian rights. But more broadly, he's a symbol of the cost and consequence the government wants you to believe it can impose for your standing, no matter who you are, what group you represent. Attempting to stand in your rights can put you in a cage next to Leonard Peltier. Think about it.